Hello. Let's see. Hey, Miss Nileji, how are you? Hi, everyone. What's going on? Let me see my on Facebook and YouTube. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Let's see. Oh, hold on 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. Where's my glasses? I always forget I can't see. Okay, there we go. Never mind. I always forget I can't see to save my life. Hi, everyone. Hello, Miss Bumbi. How are you? I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. How is married life? How is married life? I hope it is going well. Let's see. My this this and save. There we go. Hello, Miss Ella Sanctuary. How are you? Olive Beauty Empire. How are you? Hello, Miss Fumi. Is it KG? No, it's KLJ. Is it KLJ 890? I think. Is that an I or an L? See, I have my glasses and I still asking. Hi, TikTok family. What's going on? Happy Tuesday, y'all. We had to miss live last week. We're on Tuesday, right? Yeah. And then we missed Thursday. Okay. Because that's good to know. Hello, Miss Ernest Sanctuary. How's everybody? How's the family? Hello. Come on in. When you come on, say hello when you come on. Let us know what state, what city, what country, what county, what island, wherever it is that you're joining us from. But welcome, everyone. Hello, Mr. Kopina. How are you? It's been ages. Well, you got your green card and you just forgot about me. You see, that's how life is, right? I hope how is life as a green card holder? I'm sure it is fantastic. But thank you for stopping by and saying hello to us. We're still here, still waiting on God to lift this. Hello, Mr. Adeleke from Indiana. Thank you for joining. Hello, Dami Aluko. Uh, Shay, I'm not in New York. I'm based in Alabama, but I'm licensed in New York. But however, it doesn't matter where an immigration attorney is licensed. They can represent you in your immigration case regardless of the state you live in. So that's a great thing about immigration. So, but I'm actually licensed in New York and Alabama. You never know. I went to visit my mama. I don't know if she's on. Hey, mama. It's been a while, God's favorite. How are you? Hello, Miss Fumi. How are you? Went to see my mama over the weekend. And yo, when I tell you that those people can feed, I want to want to Massachusetts. Yeah. Oh Lord Jesus. Shout out to my sister-in-law. That auntie will feed you till Jesus comes back. If you see the big catfish head that she made, y'all already know I don't cook. I only cook for my kids because the government says I have to feed them. And when I say I cook for my kids, like I do one general meal, like spaghetti this week or jollof rice next week, and that's it. Nothing. We don't explore. We don't experiment. Nothing. So when TJ went with me, so I told him, listen, let's pack everything we can possibly pack. So I wear akara. We're gonna say fried akara, ati, egusi, and packed it in the suitcase all the way. Yes, judge yourselves. If you judge yourselves, that's your business. It doesn't bother me. I don't cook. It is what it is. That's why I'm still single. So if you've been citing you using side eye like auntie and you're single, auntie and you're fine, you'll be very hungry because so tough when maybe Mark you have to you have to go call your mama like I just more thing. What does that what does our personal trainer think about the catfish? I was on vacation. But when I tell you, because my oldest son is my personal trainer, when I tell you that this kid sent me a text and he goes, I saw your photo. Anyway, working out tonight. Kid, look Look at all the mosi. Come on, mosum 𝒂𝒏𝒕. I said, it'll be tomorrow. But anyway, so but we thank God for family members who would feed us and all that. But welcome in. This is Attorney 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕, immigration attorney based in Alabama, representing immigration clients in all 50 states. No, I know how to cook. It's not like I don't know how to cook. I do. Some things, let's put it that way. Some things, listen, I know how to cook enough to keep my kids alive. But all those fried rice, and my sister-in-law, well, first of all, she went to culinary school. So she is basically a chef and she enjoys cooking. There's some people who are telling my mom enjoys cooking. My sister enjoys cooking. I am just the only female in my house, in my family, that does not enjoy. I don't. A lot of people can, if you come to my house, like, okay, have you ever used this stove? Well, there's a place where I left the plastic. See, tell you I left the plastic bowl on my glass stove, and I forgot I put it on and melted in it. That's the only thing you're going to see in my life. Like, I know until you tell, yeah, eating late, that's the end. So it's not, I know how to cook. It's just certain things I do know how to cook, certain things I'm not going to learn. My kid was like, hey, Mama, do you know how to make this? He calls it akara. I don't. Can I learn? Yes. Do I want to? No. It is what it is. But anyway, we come together every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. There's the whole. I have all other talents. Cooking is not one of them. 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. We talk all things immigration on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube at 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. If you missed us last Thursday, I needed to just decompress. It was a heavy week. It was a very, very heavy week. So it just needed to take the time off and just go away and just let somebody else take care of me, which is always good. But anyway, and so if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad to have you. This is a safe space for us as immigrants to come together to talk all things immigration. We talk about topics, and sometimes we have, and we represent immigration clients in all 50 states. So it doesn't matter what state you live in. Immigration is federal practice. So that means an immigration attorney can represent you regardless of the state you live in. You don't have to be in the same state where you're attorney. Most of my clients are not in the state of Alabama, which is where my office is located. But I'm licensed in Alabama, I'm licensed in New York, but I can represent immigration clients in the United States. So if we can help you with your immigration case, and yes, in spite of the travel ban, you still can file your case. We're still hoping and praying and believing in God and trusting that some federal judge is going to be wise enough to say this is ridiculous. Something's got to give. You guys have to, lift this ban or whatever, some injunction. But file your case so that if there is an injunction and the injunction is just applicable to cases that are pending, you ain't going to say, it's like this. So it's not about it. This lawyer's just wanting to take your money. Even if you have to file your case yourself, that's on you. Just file the darn case. That's what matters. So that if you have a situation where they say cases that are pending, the ban cannot be applicable to those cases, at least you're not just rushing and trying to figure out what to do next. If we can help you with your immigration case, contact us 334-341-4475. Visit our website at 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. info@𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. We'll be glad and more than happy to help you with your immigration case. Let's talk immigration, y'all. So I think we have addressed, so we'll get to as many questions as possible, but this is something that needs to be addressed because this is something that I have addressed before, but it keeps coming back as an issue where it is causing people's cases to get denied or trying to figure out or notice of intent to deny. So I have a case that I was just retained for today. This is exactly what we're dealing with. What is my lip color? It's a mixture of something. It's a mixture of, I know it's, listen, I can't even Larry. I know it's the lip bar and another brand. I got too many shades of red. I just combine whatever I feel like combining. But thank you. Just retained for this today. because they got a notice of intent to deny regarding conflicting information on the DS-160 and the information that they submitted with USCI. So let's talk immigration. What are we talking about today? DS-160 versus USCI's petition. What to do? What to do with conflicting information? What to do with you not remembering what you actually put on your DS-160 application? Let's talk about that, because the thing is this: keep in mind that, and I always say this, your immigration information that you put in when you apply the very first time, your very first contact with the US government, when you request for them to give you any kind of visa, is going nowhere. So if you apply for immigrant visa, non-immigrant visa, immigrant visa, visitor visa, F1 visa, whatever the case may be, you are going to complete, and for the most part, most people apply for, and unless you have someone who filed for you from the beginning, most people apply for a non-immigrant visa. So that means you are completing a DS-160 application. And that means that you are going to be including some specific information, specifically information that has to do with your marital status. That is where a lot of us get into trouble. That is where a lot of us get issues with USCIS. A lot of people do not understand one thing. The fact that that was an application with the Department of State does not mean that that information is somewhere in thin air. No, because USCIS is going to pull up your record and they're going to compare the information that you put in your DS-160. They will compare it with the information that you provide when you apply for any petition, or when the petition is filed on your behalf, when you apply for it, when you submit any petition or an application with USCIS, because part of the requirement of you being able to get your permanent residency status in the United States is that you must be admissible. So basically, they have to go through the process of making sure that there are no grounds of inadmissibility against you. Mainly, a lot of people get nabbed by inadmissibility ground of misrepresentation or submission of fraudulent documents. So the one area that a lot of people get into trouble, quote unquote trouble, is marital status. So hear me loud and clear when I tell you that your information when you're applied for your non-immigrant visa is going to be compared to your information when you submit a green card application. It does not go away. That's why one of the things that I love to do is to do a FOIA requests and review of records, especially if you've got enough time before you submit your application, especially when you have those who, majority of us have one agent or the other that helps us back home to say, and most of those agents will tell us, to marry, it's easier to get your visa approved than someone who's single. But then we get here and we forget that that's actually what we indicated, or we don't even remember to ask for a copy of the DS-160 from the agent, or we completely forget what we put in. But then when you submit your application, USCIS now pulls your record and say your administrative record shows that when you submitted your DS-160 back in 2017, back in 2015, you indicated you were married, you indicated you had 2 children, but in your application you said you have not mentioned anything, or you mentioned that you've never been married prior to this current marriage. Explain or provide proof of termination of that marriage. So if you've got conflicting information specifically about your marital status or whether or not you've got kids, what do you do in that situation? So let's take it one by one. So number one, we've got a situation where all you're dealing with is just the information. When I say all you're dealing with information, meaning you did not submit any document to to the Department of State. You didn't submit birth certificates of children you claimed you had, but you really did not have. You did not submit copy of a marriage certificate to someone you were married to, but you were not really married to them. It was just a case of you putting in someone's name in the DS-160, and now you're applying for a green card application here, and then you might, somehow miraculously your memory just went away and like, married. But USCIS now reminds you like, hey, yeah, you're actually married. So if you never submitted any documentation to the Department of State, there are a couple of options. The first option I'll tell you is not an option that, as an attorney, that you would come to me and say, get divorce decree. No, if you're just getting a divorce document and you just want to submit that, then you can do that on your own. That's not something I get myself involved in, so that I can tell you upfront. But I've had situations where I consult with well, people forget they get married. I consult with a client, and there was one specific case in particular where they actually were never legally married. But if you are from a country like a lot of us are from Africa, a lot of us are from the Caribbean, where for instance, I use an example of Nigeria. I don't know about now, but back then, because I'm 47, I'm going to be 48 this year, so I know I've lived some, right? By the time I left Nigeria, it was not the norm for people to live together without being married. I'm sure it's still like that now to some extent. So some kind of ceremony, some kind of introduction usually is done, especially if someone gets pregnant, where it's something where you solidify so you feel good, or not to be shamed that you're pregnant or you're living together, something where every family, okay, I work together, like, okay, like come more or something. What did they call it? What is introduction in Europe? So y'all understand what I'm saying. But so in that kind of situation, that was what happened in this guy's case. So it was a case where everybody has known us together as quote unquote husband and wife. Yes, we're never married, but that's what they indicated in the application. So when he not got here, and he retained my services there for Illinois because he said, well, you claim to be married. So our explanation was based on the culture, based on tradition, this is what happened. They lived together. They were sitting as a husband and wife, but there was never anything legal. There was no traditional marriage. There was no statutory marriage done. But that's why, and if he had been asked during the interview to explain further, then he would have been able to explain. He never submitted a document, he never submitted marriage certificate or anything. And there was a child involved. The child he claimed to be his, thank you. The child he claimed to be his was a stepchild, but in our culture, you can't say step. You married a woman, you married the children, everything together. As God will have it, USCIS, but and really that was the situation in his case. So that is the best case scenario where USCIS accepts your explanation, and they didn't have an attorney in their case, and that's what he said. Okay, I was only married once, and we didn't cover brief and explain all that. Put articles of what it is, the kind of shame or stigma that comes with you living with someone and you're not legally married to them, or you're not seen to have been committed to them and all that. So that's how that went. But that's the best case scenario. So you can actually give an explanation of why you indicated that you were married in your DS-160, and now when you file your green card application, why you're saying the otherwise. In that kind of situation, it would just depend. Now, with this administration, that was under the Biden administration. No, that was not Obama. What did he say for a while? I was like, what? Okay, that was under Obama, I think. Y'all, no, that was no, that was not no, but that was on Obama. Obama was 2008 through 2016. I started practicing in 2014. Started my firm in 2015. So, okay, yeah, I think it was the first year. You understand? It was either Obama or yeah. But with this current administration, obviously things are different. You just don't know how that will, if that's something they would accept. So, but that would be the best case scenario. Now let's talk about a situation where you actually have indicated that you're married and you did submit a marriage certificate. You submitted a marriage certificate in the sense of you took it with you to the embassy, you showed them a marriage certificate, but then that marriage certificate just came from wherever. And and then you now file your green card application and you indicate that you were never married. When and so USCIS pulls up your DS-160 and they say not only did you indicate that you were married, you actually submitted a marriage certificate with your application. You also submitted birth certificates for children that you said you had, but now in your application with USCIS, you're claiming that you were never married and that you've never had children prior to this, or if you currently have, or you've never had children, there's zero number of children included in your application. Explain. In that situation, please hear me loud and clear. If anyone tells you that, yeah, go get some document to show that you got divorced, and then there was just the person's kids that you claimed, keep in mind, if you're submitting marriage certificate, then that means that if you come up with another, a divorce document, you're going to complicate things. And when I tell you this, I've heard someone come to me and say that was what a lawyer told them to do, just go get a divorce document. I'm not one of those lawyers who's going to tell you to go get a document to terminate a marriage that was never even done in the first place. So if you come to my firm and you're expecting that, that's not going to happen. If you ever submitted a document and you know it was not a genuine document and you cannot prove it, because keep in mind that USCIS is going to investigate your document, and it's if you see it this way, you submitted something initially, you've forgotten that you submitted that, you now apply for your especially in the case where you apply for the visitor visa, for instance, you submit a marriage certificate, they deny your case, and then you subsequently apply for yet another visitor visa, but this time around you decided that you're just going to be offering, you say you're single, you've never been married, they deny your case, and whatever case may be, you come here finally with a visitor visa, and you've always maintained single outside of that first application. They will not say anything to you, and you're thinking, oh, okay, I already went through, no big deal and all that, until, because you've not been faced with an inadmissibility issue. When you're not applying for permanent residency with USCIS, they will pull up your record. And if you're not able to defend why you went from submitting a marriage certificate to now claiming single, and then in your USCIS application, you also claim to be single prior to this current marriage, no kids, nothing, and all of a sudden you want to come up with some divorce document that you never presented to them, it's going to even make your case even worse. So what do you do in that situation? The truth of the matter is this: you have to be you just have to be upfront and come clean. Is it going to lead to additional consequences? Yes, because if so when I say come clean, you're going to admit to the fact that you lied. That's it. There's just no, I would not tell you to do otherwise. Now, will that lead to even much more issues? Yes. Admitting that you basically, or if a lot of people actually have agents who coerce them and say, hey, this is what you should do. Just be upfront and say, hey, listen, I followed bad advice. I know I should know better. Because you're responsible for your application, regardless of who helped you, because you're required to review your information. So yes, this is what I did. I shouldn't have done that. Rather than you trying to find one document or the other, or trying to get a new divorce done in the United States, USCIS is going to ask you, so what if we never sent your notice of intent to, and what if we never sent your request for evidence? So why are you not getting a divorce done here? Because if you get a divorce done back wherever your home country is, they're going to scrutinize that. And God help you if how are you going to get a divorce document? Well, I was going to say I'm going to get a divorce document from a court if you were never divorced from that court. Anyway, Americans are going to professor, but let's just leave that. Is it possible? It is not. There's nothing that is impossible when it comes to. But anyway, you know what I mean. You know what I'm thinking. However, it's just always best to just come clean. Now, when you explain that I was never married, I did misrepresent based on bad advice. USCIs will probably approve your I-130. But here is what you need to know. Most likely, you are going to be hit with inadmissibility allegations. So that means that even though they approve your I-130 filed by you for your spouse, or an I-360 vow petition that you filed for yourself, because you still have to prove that, that every other marriage was terminated. When it comes time to adjudicate your green card application, USCIS is probably going to send you a request for evidence or notice of intent to deny, based on the fact that, yes, you've already told us that you misrepresented or you submitted fraudulent documents, and so we're going to require that you file a waiver of inadmissibility. I would rather, is it going to take much longer and push you back and still have to wait a little while? Yes. I would rather take that chance with a client than to take a chance of you submitting documents that never existed, to now compound documents, and to now compound that with submitting additional documents for something that never existed. And then you may actually even bar yourself completely. So in order to even avoid whether conflicting information between your DS-160 and your USCIS application, please, if you have the time to do that before you file anything, do a FOIA request of your records. Most of the time, USCIS will have a copy of your DS-160 in your FOIA records. If not, then do a FOIA request to the Department of State's DOS FOIA so you can get that. Hopefully, I've seen quite a number of people actually have copies of your DS-160 that is submitted. Review that before you submit an application to USCIS, because they will compare information that you gave to the Department of State to the information that you put in your USCIS applications. If they conflict and you do not have a reasonable explanation, then you are basically playing with a denial. So it's a long process with this whole thing. Before you start it, don't start and then get yourself in a bind where your case now ends up being denied when that could have been avoided in the first place. But at the end of the day, if you're unsure, now this is going to be a case-by-case basis. If you are unsure what exactly your file contains or how to approach your specific case, consult with an attorney, let them evaluate your case and see what's best for you. Like I said, I have a client who he's actually a citizen now, because it's been a while. He's a citizen now. He's got kids. I mean, beautiful family. That case was an explanation where and I told him up front, like, listen, I can be very creative, but USCIS is going to be the one to decide if they're going to buy my, because listen, I came up with all kind of stuff. We had affidavits and all that. And he's a citizen today. But then you can meet an officer that's just not going to buy it, or your case may be more complicated in a sense, or maybe you had documents that you submitted not as straightforward as he is, that may require a situation where you're just going to be upfront. And because I had another case that way, Mr. O is Mr. O. He had an I-130 had been filed twice by his wife. Both times were denied, and then they finally came to my firm. They were denied because USCIS says that he did not provide. They didn't provide proof of termination of his marriage, because he indicated in his DS-160 that he was married to so and so person, and he never provided a divorce document. He said, "I've never been married to this person." The first time they denied it, he came back, "I've never been." So when it came to my firm, we did it. The first thing we did was a FOIA request, because he was not even sure about this information we're talking about. And so when we did it for his records came out, and I said, "Hey, listen, based on this, there's just no way you're going to keep denying that you need this person." And I said, we come to find out the person who helped him just put someone's name, and it was just a very complicated case. So at the end of the day, we just had to accept that, listen, this person, yes, this person is not someone I'm familiar with, but I see from my record that this is information that I'm responsible for giving to the Department of State. It was not intentional. It's seen as a misrepresentation, but I was never married. We got affidavits. We got letters from the registry, letters from the customer court where he lived. There was never any marriage letters from family members. Finally, long story short, USCIS approved the I-130. But they came back and said, we're finding you inadmissible. We're respond or rebut the allegation or file a waiver. We filed a waiver, and we were at the waiver stage when this ban came into play. So I say all that to say is it's a case by case situation for each person. But the best case scenario is before you submit anything, go and see what's in your file. And if you're not sure, get it. You can anyone can do a FOIA request. But if you have questions, you just want to see, and you know you've already marry or or this is another one. I've seen a situation where someone submitted took a copy of the marriage registered marriage certificate to the embassy for their application for their interview, and then when they applied for their USCIS application, submitted the USCIS application, they submitted customer divorce documents. So a customary court cannot dissolve a statutory marriage. It's just not how the law works. So long story short, it was a no-go. So now they came to my firm. I get all these cases because why not? Why should I sleep? Right? They can turn their whole heads of gray. But it's challenging. But I love to take on cases like that. It's like, okay, how do we figure this out? We're still on that case now. That's an ongoing case. I'll report back on how it goes. Don't know what I can come up with, but we'll see. But just evaluate your case, talk to a lawyer so you're sure about that you are addressing the specifics of your case. Save yourself the headache of going through the whole process and getting your case denied. And that's how she wrote, y'all. So this video will be all for anyone who wants to go through it and see the options you have. But when in doubt, speak to a lawyer and have your case evaluated. I always say, I think the last time we talked about making sure you know what's in your immigration record. It is important. These people are not playing. They're looking for every opportunity to deny your case. And so if that means that they have to pull your record from back to when Jesus first came, they're going to do it. So be one step ahead and get your records and see what's in your file before you even submit your application. All right, y'all. That's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. Okay, let's get to Mr. Ben. I'm not sure if she's on, but if you're on, Mr. Ben, and Mr. Coben is asking how you're doing. Your angel, right there. So responses to questions, general information, nothing specific to anyone's case. Ever blessed her 9954 common law marriage. Yeah, what do you mean by common? What is it about common law marriage? Is traffic offense a criminal offense? Traffic offense. Every traffic offense can be a criminal. Well, it depends. So it depends on how it is categorized in your state. So it depends on how it's categorized in your state. If you're and I can use because criminal, when it comes to criminal cases, that's a state-specific law. And it's not like a generalized thing where, unlike immigration, where it's the same every state. Every state has its own criminal code. For instance, in the state of Alabama, traffic offenses are generally regarded as violations. However, they are grouped under criminal offenses in my state. It doesn't mean it's going to be a misdemeanor or felony. It's just grouped that way, I guess, for the court system and all that. But it is still distinguished as traffic offenses. But traffic offenses can become misdemeanors or felonies depending on the gravity of that offense. For instance, and I've said simple DUI before, and somebody got them like the DUI is not simple. I'm not saying it's simple, but it's just what it's called. So before somebody comes like auntie and you can say no. It's called this thing. That's just the term that's used to describe it. And that's because if it's a first offense for someone who's never had that before, it's not necessarily it can be played down to a violation, but a DUI can also go from so-called simple to become a felony depending on the number of times that person has been arrested for a DUI, depending on if somebody was injured, if there's physical injury, if there's a death. It would just depend. So it's not a yes or no answer. Depends on your state, depends on what level of offense it is, whether it takes it from a simple violation up all the way to felony, and then based on that is how immigration now categorizes whether it's a CIMT or aggravated felony or something that will fall within the petty offense exemption. So I know it's a long, but that's how it goes. Um, have you seen anyone from Nigeria granted an EAD work permit since January 1st, 2026? Listen, when I tell you that it's nobody can stop the blessings of God in our lives, but it's frustrating is an understatement. However, um, have I seen yes because we've had I want to say two work permits for people for people from Nigeria because those were asylum cases. So there are three categories of work permit applicants that are categories that are exempt from the ban from the pause. One of the categories is those who are applying for their initial work permit based on a pending asylum application. So we've had two, and those two were specifically those who had their first EADs based on asylum. However, we've not had renewals. We've not had new applications on any other categories that are not exempt because they're all subject to the pause. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to TikTok. Okay. Let's see. Is Jimmy. Hello, Miss Jimmy. How are you? Hello from Canada. Hello from Malawi. Really? Thank you. What time is it in Malawi? Well, thank you for joining. Appreciate that. Hello from Niger. Anything. Shalafia. Hello, Miss Mackie. How are you? Thank you for the post. Let's see. Thank you, Miss Tara, for reposting. Okay. Anyway. Mommy Moy. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Um, can someone from Nigeria who's here file for an adjustment of status for their parents at this time? You're not filing for adjustment of status for your parents. Your parents will file the adjustment of status application for themselves. I guess what you mean is filing an I-130 petition for them, and then on that basis, they file their adjustment of status. If that's what you're asking, yes. So again, and I keep saying this, the ban does not prevent you from filing your application. The ban prevents or pauses a decision to be made. So whatever that decision is, that's what the ban is. That's the stage the ban is applicable to. My case has been in court for some time now, and I've been married for over 9 years. What can I do? Sit down with the lawyer to figure out what options you have. The DOJ was looking for 200 denaturalization cases monthly. Did they find any yet? Was it propaganda? It's not propaganda. I think we put a post about it up, but it's, I, I just don't like to, um, I let you guys know just so that you are informed about what's going on, but I don't dwell on things that are just not positive just because you're going to find that information. But we let you know whether it's positive or as long as it's something that's going to potentially affect people. Yes, we're going to post about it. We're going to talk about it, but I'm not just going to dwell on it. So I've already talked about that before. I want to say maybe earlier this year or something. So, but it's not a propaganda. It is something. They've actually it's an action. It's an action in the works where they are being tasked to have up to between 100 and 200 cases a month to refer to the DOJ for denaturalization. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. You're welcome, Susceptor. Okay. Let's see. All right. Can someone, hello, Mr. Muhammad, can someone on asylum be on social media like Facebook and still be a content creator? What do you mean by that? Are you saying continue working? Is that your point? Without authorization? Is that your question is not clear? Okay, let's see. Is it time? My song is quiet. TJ Joel. It's quiet. What's going on? Can you add me online to discuss about my case? We can talk about your case in the proper paid consultation, or you can put your question on here to ask your question. Good to have you back, Miss in the sanctuary. Wait, where's my chin chin? Let me put you on blast like my kid put me on blast on the goose. Where's my chin chin? Please send it down. Thank you. All right, let's see. God's favor, nice to have you back. Welcome everyone to the most positive immigration space on social media, civic space to celebrate immigration victories and ask questions about new policies with this lady. Our victories cannot be delayed. They cannot be denied. They may think they're delaying our victories, but they're coming. Just hold on. Just hold on. There's nothing the devil can do or the enemy can do to stop our testimonies. It's just a matter of time. If any group of people, anyone or group of people think they're going to be in the way of us coming together and magnifying God's name with our testimonies, ha, let's begin to be sorry for them because they're about to be taken out of the way. There's no one who is able to stop the hand of God. Absolutely nobody. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, so for those who are asking about can green card holders travel, Miss Other Sanctuary, our resident unpaid moderator, just got back from her trip. So, thank you, Lord. She came in without any issues as a green card holder. So, again, that shows you that travel ban or no travel ban, visa free or no visa free, it is not applicable to green card holders. Now, if you are a green card holder who has some skeletons in your history, you've got a removal order that was never terminated, because it's possible to still get a green card. For instance, if you're an Arabian alien, USCIS could have still approved that. You've got some criminal case or something that is going to raise an alarm, then that's that kind of person you want to sit down with a lawyer before you travel. But if there's nothing really in your record that is going to be concerning, there's nothing that says a green card holder cannot travel. No breaking transmission. Mama has to stay fit. I mean, I can't be more fit than I am. I can't be. My kukulo my gym. Um, let's see. Washing their beans is the only issue. Well, for those who like to make their car, that's fine. And it's not even the washing the beans. I'm not partaking in any of the process besides the eating part of it. No, listen. I think my marriage did a number on me. So I got out of that marriage and I was like, no. There's some things I'm just not doing. I paid my dues and doing it again. Just saying. Not doing it. I'll go if I start. I think I'll start dating someone who's a chef, Nigerian chef, because I can't gotta eat my Nigerian food. If not, is there any likelihood that the ban on the 75 countries be lifted anytime soon? Please, what do you think? Again, there are many lawsuits in court. We just have to wait to see what happens. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah, thank you for 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. Maybe the person has replaced reality. Listen, like you'll be surprised. Those agents who just collect their money and leave you hanging on your own will be a lot of people don't even remember. A lot of people don't even know what the agents include in DS-160 for them. That's just the truth. And then you won't even find if you're trying to even get contact them afterwards. What if so it number once to change, you wouldn't even know that that number existed. They've already gotten their money, they're gone. Absolutely. Hello, Miss Abena. Mr. Kobina was just asking about you. Don't know if you remember him. How are you? Hello, Queen Khadija. How are you? Do you know if USCIS is still charging yearly $100 fee for asylum? Yes. Once your case is up to a year, because the court actually allowed them to continue with that. Yes. My husband put in his N400 in already and has gone for biometrics before the ban. Do you think I should put in my work permit now just in case of the? I would definitely advise that you do so. Yes. When you see your work permits, if your husband, do you have a green card application that you filed? If your husband, is your husband your petitioner? Did he file an I-130 for you? So if are you in valid status? Because it just occurs to me that's not adding up. Or do you have something separate that you filed? What is the implication filing for VA against one's spouse? There's no implication as long as you qualify and you're able to meet all the requirements of it. It's a confidential process. The person they don't get arrested for it. There's nothing that goes against their record unless you tell them or they get in trouble on their own doing something separate from your VA case. Okay, let's see. Class prefect. Oh. What do you do? Okay, he's around. Um, he's already answered. I was wondering my 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 kid is quiet. He's already responded to me here. Mr. Class prefect. Hey teacher, yeah. I have some chefs in line. Tell them they as long as they know how to cook and they have good credit score and they good have a good job and they're no mama's boys. Can't deal with that anymore. Mm-mm. No, that's a no. That's I don't care how good looking he is, how much money he has, how perfect his credit score is. If he's a mama's boy, no. Yes, my son's a mama's boy. I'm talking for myself. Aaron Titi, thank you. I appreciate that, Miss Sanctuary. I haven't filed anything yet. Okay, he's the one that will file. Okay, I was waiting for him to become a student. So that because you said putting your work permit, that's why it threw me. Hello, Attorney Henry. It threw me off. Like, okay, what work permit do you have if he hasn't gotten his citizenship? Okay, so you're waiting for him to become a citizen, and then once he becomes a citizen, he'll file for you and all that. Gotcha. Okay. Um. Thank you for explaining this in a very clear way than any other person. Thank you. I try. That's the whole. But so listen, you just made my night because that's always the goal. If you, I always say I can explain things to myself, and I try and then explain it the way I would want someone to explain things to me. It's good. The word legal jargon is unnecessary. Just tell me what it is. Good evening, Ajibola. How are you? I mean, still posting his home case activity like giving back financial assistance ceremony and publishing it on will it affect the final decision by the judge? Well, you want to sit down with the lawyer to figure out because then it depends on what is your ground for persecution. Is it something that's going to contradict what you're doing on social media? I can tell you yes or no. Like again, this is just general information, nothing specific to anyone's case. If you want to know that for a fact, then sit down with the lawyer to figure that out. Hello, Mr. Adegoke. How are you? Okay. All right. Can someone hold on, let me go back here. What's the time? Cases being Can a parent on PR file for 27-year-old child? As long as a permanent resident parent can file for an unmarried child, as long as the child is not married, then yes. Can someone who filed for asylum but has obtained his or her citizenship travel back to their country of origin? I'm thinking yes. Generally, we tell people don't travel. If you file for asylum, even if you have a green card, don't travel back until you get your citizenship. And the reason being, you're not using. First of all, especially it's been years. The fear may no longer exist, but most importantly, you're not using that country's travel documents anymore because now you're a U.S. citizen and you're using that to travel. Um, so, but with this administration, they can pull up anything. But yes, just as long as you're a citizen, usually it doesn't pose a problem for the most part anymore. Okay. I'm waiting for my I-45 since my bar was approved and I was called for interview before my bar. Okay. I don't understand your question. Waiting for my I-45 since my vow was approved. I was called for interview before my vow was approved. The day of interview was not. I really don't understand what you're asking me. NJ piano. I have zero clue what you're asking me. Okay. Parents are naturalized U.S. citizens. They haven't been back in the States for 6 years. Can they re enter? A naturalized citizen can go live wherever they want to go live for as long as they want, and nothing stops them from coming back in. I mean, they are citizens. If their passports have expired, they can go to the embassy to renew their passports. Okay. All right, y'all. I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Um, let's see. I think we got through. What advice do you have for someone who has had biometrics done since November last year but hasn't heard anything till date? Val, you're not going to hear anything till date if your Val case is still within the normal processing time, which is 4 years. So let's even leave pause alone. If it's still within 4 years, you ain't going to hear anything. That's what it is. You may hear something on your work authorization when the ban gets lifted, but that's about it. That's all. That's it. But anyway, yeah. My country, no worries, Mr. Scepter. After Canada here, Master Canada here, and how long will you get your work permit for the individual here? I can. That's another question I can answer. My country is among the travel ban list, but I live and married. But I live and married to a U.S. country. It's among the travel ban list, but I live and married to a U.S. I'm going to just again. Even if your country is part of the travel ban, that means it's subject to the USCIS pause. You can still file your case. Nothing stops you from filing your case. The question is, will they approve your case? Right now, short answer, no, because of the USCIS pause. So until that pause is lifted, the hold is lifted, the court orders them to lift it, something's got to give. Now, they did say that they will give updated guidance not within 90 days from when they put the policy out. So we're still less than 60 days. So maybe by end of March, we'll see. I'm married to a U.S. citizen and I'm an F1 student. Should I apply for OPT before AOS to work sooner? I think the jury is still out on whether or not the OPT is actually. I may be wrong, but I haven't heard any. I haven't seen or heard anyone's OPT approved that for those who are from the countries on the USCIS pause list. So, but nothing stops you from applying. I can't stress that enough, and I think people just are still just so fixated on there's a pause, I can file. There's a hold, I can file. You can't file. You can't file. The hold just prevents USCIS Yeah. Okay. Work permit. Okay. Again, like I said, that's not something I can answer. All right, y'all. Thank you as always for joining each and every time. Much better week. Thank you, Lord. Um, so once again, if we can help you with your immigration case, our contact information is 334-341-4475. We'll be glad to represent you. We can represent you regardless of the state you live in. Visit our website, olalayalawfirm.com. But listen, it is ridiculous. Let's just call a spade a spade. It is ridiculous what's going on. It is almost like, I had a consult with a lady this morning, and she was like, "This is I'm going to Canada because she's got a job offer." And I was like, "Listen, just I know it is very, very um anxiety driven. It is just the uncertainty is just killing, quote unquote, killing a lot of people in the sense of just what gives. Something's got to give. But I said, your kids, this is where your kids were born. This is what they've always known. I know it's frustrating. Well, the youngest kids, the oldest one is also with the mother's case. Just hold on. The goal of this people is just to frustrate people, to make you say, you know what, I'm done, I'm moving to somewhere else, whatever. But do not let anyone frustrate you out of God's purpose for you. If it's God's plan for you to move somewhere else, that's different. But don't let someone else's evil plan frustrate you from God's purpose for you. If this is God's purpose for your life, where you are, where you have been, it is just a matter of time. It will work out. Listen, if you're from Nigeria, you know that Abacha made himself a life president, right? He said he was a life president. He was going to be there until, he passed. So there is no mountain that God cannot move. There is no one that he will contend with those who contend with us. You cannot, no one can destabilize you. No one can change God's plan. If I believe nothing else in my life, if I've seen nothing else, that's one thing I have seen over and over again. That God's plans for us, his plans are not for evil but of good, to give us a future and a hope and bring us to an expected end. There is an expected end that God has destined for each and every one of us. And if that expected end is in this country, regardless of the whole laws. And that's one thing you have to remember. So when we wake up and it's like, say, listen, I love to be able to give good news and be able to tell, and it's great. But I'm also learning in this season that God's name alone will be praised. Because when he decides to turn things around just like that, suddenly we'll be able to magnify his name more than we'll magnify the problems we think we have right now. So we'll keep having faith. Bible says Abraham hoped against hope. When it looks like there's just no way out, even if you can't explain it. You just have no solution. But that's the whole idea of having hope. Because without hope, there's the faith without hope. There's no faith without hope. You got to hope and know that it makes no sense. But because I know it's a power, it's not within my power. It's a power beyond me. Knowing that God is still in control, and as long as God remains in control, things will work out in our favor. It's just a matter of time. Remember, he hasn't promised us that there would not be difficulties and challenges along the way. By the end of it, at the end of it all, we shall be triumphant. That's the one thing I believe beyond anything, with every fiber of my being. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye, everybody.